Hey, it's time to talk about upgrade materials in Sekiro. In this video, we'll be looking at all common upgrade materials, their descriptions, where they can be found, and what prosthetic tools use them. If you want to learn more about unique upgrade materials such as Malcontent's Ring, Phantom Kunai, or Pine Resin Ember, you can find them in their corresponding prosthetic tools videos. As usual, we'll quickly go over the disclaimers, legend, and sources. If it's not your first time around, feel free to skip ahead. Number 1, use common sense. Please do not assume that I have access to some secret true knowledge. I'm just entertained by reading Sekiro in Japanese. My lore theories are just theories, so treat them accordingly. Number 2, I am not a professional translator. I have never worked on localization. Yes, I will say that something is translated poorly and something is not, and it will be my personal point of view. Ultimately, my goal is to give you the information so you can see if the localization was good or not, whether something important was lost or not. My opinion is just that, and I choose to share it. As usual, the transcriptions I give do not follow all academic rules, and I don't think it's necessary. They're just here to represent the pronunciation in case you're curious. All sources I used for this research will be listed in the description box below, along with all the additional information that I referenced throughout the video, so you can read more if you're interested. There you will also find a link to my original blog post if you want to read it through. We'll start with the most common material of the bunch, scrap iron. Its original name is tetsukuzu, literally scrap iron. Kuzu generally refers to dregs, scrap, or garbage. There are several stages of upgrades for prosthetic tools, and each material is used in a specific type of reinforcement. Scrap iron is widely used as a base for prosthetic upgrades. The last line of this description is very interesting. It mentions satetsu, iron sand or black sand. It can refer to a partly magnetic mixture of fine sands that indicates the presence of a placer formation and accumulation of valuable minerals. However, the comparison drawn by the original description states that the grains or beads of iron found in Ashina are so big they cannot be called black sand. Even though the land is infertile and covered in snow, scrap iron's grains are so big they can be called black sand. I hope I got it right. Scrap iron can be obtained in a variety of places. It's not exactly a rare item. It's all over Ashina Castle. Both Fujioka and Anayama sell it, and there's a few handfuls stashed in Senpo Temple. It is used in many prosthetic modifications, from basic upgrades for Shuriken and Firecracker to more advanced ones, like Phantom Kunai, Spiral Spear, and Phoenix's Lilac Umbrella. Another common upgrade material, scrap magnetite. Its original name is jitetsukuzu, scrap magnetite. When we were talking about loaded umbrella magnet, I mentioned that in Sekiro the word jitetsu is used to denote magnetite instead of a more common word that has one more kanji, jitekko, and we can see the same thing here. It literally means magnetic iron, which is true because magnetite is one of the main iron ores and the most magnetic naturally occurring mineral on the planet. These are scraps or pieces of magnetite gathered or extracted from Ashina lands. It is also described as a material widely used in intermediate and higher stages of creation. We already know that forging with magnetite produces a stronger prosthetic tool. Magnetite umbrella has a magnetite axis that makes it especially durable. The original says that magnetite is a precious type of money or currency. It proceeds to describe quite a desperate situation. However, the magnetite bedrocks are rare and they're being exhausted. Magnetite crisis is imminent. Magnetite scraps can be obtained in the Sunken Valley, which is not surprising. It can also be looted from ministry enemies after the Ashina Castle has been overrun. Some magnetite, interestingly enough, can apparently be looted from elite Okami warrior that wields a spear. It is used in mid-tier plus upgrades, for example in loaded umbrella magnet, spiral spear, and sand thrower. Adamantite scrap. I hope I'm pronouncing it right though. Adamantite? The third and final scrap in upgrade materials, adamantite scrap. Its name is kongokuzu, adamantite or diamond scrap. The word kongo denotes vajra, indestructible substance, a Buddhist symbol. As such, it also denotes the hardest natural material, diamond. Adamant is an archaic form of diamond in classical mythology. The word itself has a funny origin story. A Greek word that translates to untamable or invincible came to Latin, then aged into medieval Latin, then went to Old French, and then into Middle English, eventually taking the form that we all know today, diamond. Fascinating how these things work. Anyway, the term adamant for denoting the hardest stone was becoming increasingly archaic, replaced by the more contemporary diamond, and now it is reserved for mostly poetic use, as we can see here. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the first documented use of the word diamond, but I think that this word is still too modern to be used while localizing the name of this item. I know that probably no one would care except me because I get super excited over these things, but I'm glad they chose more archaic adamant and transformed it into adamantite. Great job. Really keeps the historical integrity of the setting together. Curiously, I was able to find a similar localization case. In both manga and anime series Inuyasha, one of the characters uses a special move called Kongo Soha, which was localized into English as Adamant Barrage. Incidentally, the action takes place in Japan during the Warring States period, also known as, you guessed it, Sengoku period, when the events of Sekiro take place. I'm sure that the localization team also wanted to keep the archaic tone with their localization and thus chose the word adamant. The description says that this material is used in late stages of creation. It also emphasizes that adamantite can be mined only in the most ancient parts, even within Ashina, and as we know, Ashina land is pretty ancient as it is. I really like how the last sentence was localized. It's quite accurate and sounds great. We can also see the full name of this material, Kongo Tetsu, adamant or indestructible metal. Since this material is rare and occurs only in the oldest parts of Ashina, it comes as no surprise that it can be found in Mibu Village and Fountainhead Palace. Adamantite scrap is needed for top-tier upgrades such as Sparking Axe and Golden Vortex, and its supposed connection to gods allows it to be a part of some Lazulite upgrades. There are 3 types of explosive powders used in prosthetic upgrades, and we'll start with the most basic one, black gunpowder. Its original name is Kuroiro Ensho, black gunpowder. Sekiro descriptions often use 2 words for gunpowder, Ensho and a more common and widely known kayaku. Naturally, I got curious as to how they're different and did a little bit of research. Turns out Ensho usually refers to saltpeter, one of the components of gunpowder. However, during the Edo period, which came right after the Sengoku period, this word was also used to denote gunpowder in general. Ensho had been used in many regions of Japan to describe the type of gunpowder loaded into firework toys, up until fairly recently, year 30 of the Showa era, which corresponds to 1955. Kayaku, on the other hand, is a broader term that denotes gunpowder, explosive powder, and can refer to explosive-type items in general. From the first sentence, we can conclude that this item is not really gunpowder, but a component of it. That is why the word ensho was used, quite likely in its first sense, saltpeter, a gunpowder component. However, since the next 2 upgrade materials also have this word in their descriptions, we will call it just powder. Black powder, a base component of gunpowder. From this description, we can also derive various types of upgrades within prosthetic tools, namely kayaku, explosive, and jubutsu, fetish, meaning an object believed to have supernatural powers. The localization fittingly calls it occult. The last line was translated accurately. Even though this material is common, it has a wide variety of practical applications. Black gunpowder can be purchased from Onayama or found in a variety of places such as Ashina Outskirts, Ashina Castle, or even Abandoned Dungeon. It is used in most middle-grade modifications for explosive and occult prosthetic tools, such as Long Spark, Sparking Axe, Okinaga's Flame Vent, and Double Divine Abduction. Moving on to yellow gunpowder, Kiiro Ensho, yellow gunpowder or yellow powder. Yellow powder, a base component for powerful or highly explosive gunpowder. I'm not sure if there is a real-world material that corresponds to yellow gunpowder. My guess would be smokeless powder that is more potent than regular black powder and can be yellow in color. However, as far as I know, it was first developed in the late 19th century, so it doesn't really fit. No matter though. The original says yellow powder allows for a stronger explosive blast than black powder. The last line comments on how the gun fort of the Sunken Valley exists because of the yellow gunpowder. This material is used in intermediate upgrades of explosive and occult tools, either with black gunpowder, like in Leaping Flame, or exclusively, for example, in Suzaku's Lotus Umbrella, Great Feather Mist Raven, or Lazulite Sacred Flame. It can be found mainly in the Sunken Valley. A couple of packs are in Ashina Depths, and it always drops from Longarm Centipede Senun. The final explosive powder, raiko, mercury fulminate or fulminated mercury, especially valuable powder, a base component for a gunpowder of devastating explosive power. The description is pretty accurate. The Interior Ministry did obtain the knowledge of it from overseas. The original once again mentions Nanban, only here not as Nanban trade period, but as a place, Spain and Portugal and their Southeast Asian colonies that traded with Japan at the time. However, there is also a bit of time travel involved because mercury fulminate was first prepared by Edward Charles Howard in 1800s and was first used as a priming composition in small copper caps in the 1820s, so it was hardly possible for this powder to show up in Sengoku period. The crystal structure of mercury fulminate was determined very recently in 2007. It's been speculated that the phrase owes much to this tiny tweak of chemistry is a reference to a Breaking Bad episode, and while I cannot say whether it is or it isn't, I can tell you that the original just says owes much to the power of fulminated mercury. As expected, fulminated mercury drops from Ministry Red Guards after they invade Ashina Castle. This material is used in top-tier upgrades of explosive and occult nature such as Purple Fume Spark, Suzaku's Lotus Umbrella, Lazuli Sabimaru, and others. Moving on to the two waxes, lump of fat wax is called, well, I'm not sure how to read this, honestly. I'd say it is shiro no kobu. Shiro can be read as yaniro if the first kanji is used in its resin meaning, but that's not the case here, so I think it's shiro. The localization is on point. It is a lump of fat wax. A lump of fat wax that rarely forms in a human body. Then, as usual, the classification part. Lump of fat wax is used in intermediate plus upgrades of occult tools. The rest of the description was localized accurately. This thing is an omen of some kind of disease, and it grows as the disease worsens. Yuck. It reminds me of shelter stone, although that item is considered to be a good omen and is not a result of a disease. It drops from monks in Senpo Temple and from Blue Palace nobles, and Doljun also gives it as a reward for his quest. Fat wax is used in such prosthetic upgrades as Golden Vortex, Lazy Light Shuriken, Purple Fume Spark, and others. Funnily enough, if my reading of the fat wax is correct, it means it coincides with the reading of grave wax, shiro no kobu, lump of grave or death wax. A lump of grave wax that grew pitch black in the interior of the human body. Fat wax forms just somewhere in the human body. It doesn't say inside or outside, but grave wax grows inside the human body. The rest of the description is accurate, although I cannot help but wonder about undying illness. The localization translated it as long-suffered disease, which can be true, the disease that just won't go away. But at the same time, we know that the undying is a special group inside Sekiro lore. Curiouser still that the main source of grave wax is palace nobles, including even poor Miss Noble in Ashina Depths. Gives some food for thought, doesn't it? This material is used in advanced upgrades such as Lazy Light Axe, Lazy Light Sacred Flame, and Golden Vortex. Finally, Lapis Lazuli. Its original name is Minamoto no Ruri, Lapis Lazuli of the Fountainhead. The original description implies that eternity or perpetuity is a quality of the Lapis Lazuli itself. There is a perpetuity to Lapis Lazuli. When something is forged with Lapis Lazuli, it will never break or rust because it receives grace of the dragon who became God. Every Lazy Light upgrade's description opens with the phrase, blessed with the favor of Fountainhead Lapis Lazuli, and the word used for favor is the same as the one used here for blessing, onto. The last part says that the weapons forged with Lapis Lazuli are bestowed items, I suppose because Sakura Dragon's blessing comes as a bonus. There is also an interesting localization case lurking in the phrase treasures of the divine dragon. There are several ways you can translate Shinki. It can be read in several ways. We'll use Shinki. This word specifically refers to imperial regalia of Japan, Sanshu no Jingi. Imperial regalia includes 3 sacred treasures: Kusanagi sword that represents valor, Yata no Kagami, a mirror that stands for wisdom, and Yasakani no Magatama, the jewel that represents benevolence. Shinki consists of kami, god, and utsuwa, that has a wide pool of meanings including instrument, tool, vessel, and such. I cannot help but remember Noragami manga, where gods have companions that can turn into weapons, and these companions are called shinki. That's why I read this word as shinki, all because of Noragami. If my memory serves me right, those were also localized into English as regalia. Whether weapons, regalia, or treasures, these prosthetic tools are tied to Sakura Dragon because they received his grace via Lapis Lazuli. You cannot get any Lapis Lazuli if you go for the Shura ending, and you can get only 6 per playthrough if you turn an owl and choose to proceed to the Fountainhead Palace. All of them can be obtained through Fountainhead Palace, except for 2 that drop from Demon of Hatred. I'm not sure there is a lore implication as to why he drops it, maybe because it's the end of the game and he's a difficult optional boss. I don't think Sculptor ever had a chance to obtain Lapis Lazuli to stash it for a rainy day. Lapis Lazuli has been a valuable semi-precious stone since ancient times, treasured for its deep blue color. Its name means a stone from sky or a stone from heaven. Unfortunately, I can't tell you much about the kanji used in Japanese for Lapis Lazuli, because their sole purpose seems to be to denote the stone. Both kanji are just marked as Lapis Lazuli in the dictionary. The word ruri also denotes beryl and several blue birds, but I wasn't really able to find any other words with these kanji apart from ruri and joruri, a type of dramatic recitation accompanied by shamisen. This video turned out to be slightly shorter than usual, but I didn't want to add anything else. While playing, I didn't really pay much attention to the upgrade materials. Turns out they constitute a solid system. There are 3 types of scraps, 3 powders, 2 waxes, and precious lapis lazuli. Each material is tied either to the stages of enhancement or a tool type. There isn't a lot of them, but they work so well you actually don't need more. I also read a bunch of stuff on chemistry and gunpowder and history of Japan that I want to learn more of. Sekiro is definitely making me smarter. I hope I didn't tire you much with all my digressions though. Next up, prosthetic combat arts and spirit emblems. Don't forget to check the description for relevant links and more reading. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.